Hawaii Children's Discovery Center was built at the site of the old Oahu incinerator and opened in 1998. It literally rose from the ashes next to the city landfill that became a waterfront park. Since then, hundreds of thousands of kids have been inspired by their visits here. But the homeless issue in Kaka'ako has affected their day-to-day operations, and now they need our support to keep their programs going strong for future generations.
Welcome to the Children's Discovery Center. This gallery, Rainforest Adventures, was really inspired by a trip that friends and my husband and I took to the Amazon. And when we visited the rainforest, I realized that it was really important for children to understand how precious our natural resources are, and to really understand that there are threats to the rainforest and the animals that live there. And so we built this whole gallery so that children could learn about conservation and really protecting and preserving our natural resources. This is Fantastic You, and we wanted to start with teaching children about their bodies and how fantastic they are, and how to take care of their bodies by eating good food and exercising and taking care of their different parts of their body. And we want them to work together in a community, so we built Your Town, where they can try different professions and learn how a community works. Often I have adults coming in here, and I once had a police officer that found his photo when he was a child on our children's rainbow wall. And you know, when adults come in and say to me, I became a police officer because of the time that I spent here in the Children's Discovery Center, or I became a firefighter, or I became a doctor, that's really inspiring. I'm actually an educator, and I started teaching Head Start in Kuhio Park Terrace. And then I was asked to teach at the University of Hawaii Lab School, where we developed curriculum materials for the Department of Education. And then I went on to Hanaha'oli School. I was the administrative director there, and there was a group of friends that came to visit with me, and they'd been trying to start a children's museum, and asked me to help, and I wasn't really quite sure what a children's museum was at that point. But once I looked into it and realized that every major city in the United States has at least one, and many of them more than one, I realized that our children and families here in Hawaii really needed it more than any other place in the United States, because we're on an island. And for kids to learn about the world beyond our island shores, we needed to bring a window to that world. You know, it became very important to me to have children understand the sacrifices that were made by our ancestors who came here primarily to work the sugar and pineapple plantations. And my own great-grandparents came from China, and my grandparents actually had a store, the Wo-On store, which is actually upstairs in Hawaiian Rainbows. They sold provisions to the laborers that came to work in the plantations. In 2011, we had a visitor that came from China, and it was actually a group of businessmen. And they wanted to play golf with my husband, so my husband says, well, let's visit my wife's museum on the way to play golf. And they came here, and when they got to the 18th hole, my husband called me and said they would like to have dinner with you to discuss how they can build children's museums throughout the country of China. So we went to dinner, and he said, I would like to revolutionize early childhood education in China, because it's so important for our children to learn imagination, to use their you know, exploration and discovery, and not learn things just by rote. And that's what distinguishes us as a children's museum. And so that started me on a very long journey, and for the past 5 years we've been helping to build children's museums all throughout China. The first one opened in Beijing last year, and the second one, which is a very large museum, will open in Hohhot, Inner Mongolia later on in 2018. When I first started looking at the possibility of building a children's museum here, Castle and Cook offered us a small 5,000 square foot facility in Dole Cannery Square, and we turned that into just a wonderland of hands-on interactive exhibits that were so popular that we had a long waiting line outside of our doors. Then Governor Waihee and the First Lady Lynn Waihee said, Loretta, why don't you think about expanding and moving into Kaka'ako Waterfront Park? We're going to build 30 acres of park at your doorstep in the Pacific Ocean, and that was very exciting. But as you can imagine, it was quite a daunting task, and we moved here in 1998. Most people think that we're state-owned or state-supported, and actually we are one of the few children's museums that I know of in the country that receive no city, state, or federal funding for our operational support. We've experienced some challenges over the past couple of years, and we have a very dedicated and talented staff, and we have a lot of workshops and programs that we offer to the general public, and we have a very strong and very loyal membership. So we have a long wait list for our programs. But it's also, most people may not realize this, is that every ticket, every membership, every registration for any of our programs does not cover what it costs us to run the programs. And so a big part of my job is to write grants and to raise the money to keep operations going every year. We have to subsidize all of our ticket prices, all of our memberships, and especially the school visits, which we really try to keep the ticket price as low as we possibly can. Right now we're focusing a lot on STEM, science, engineering, technology, and math, and workshops and programs for both the younger kids and the older kids are all over the place. They run from magic camp to art programs to science programs. They're really quite diverse. It's such a wonderful location, and I think the original vision was to have Kaka'ako Waterfront Park and the Children's Discovery Center be a gathering place where families, local families and tourists could come and really enjoy the shoreline and the park. And I think for us, we just have to have faith that, we can turn things around and things will get better. And as far as the public, I think it really is wonderful to see our members and those that really understand the value of a children's museum and what it means to their children to continue supporting the museum by coming, supporting our programs, coming to our events. They really are wonderful events. I think that's the biggest way they can support us.